Hello and welcome everyone to our free live event on voicemail messages to VITO. And the master of selling to VITO is Tony Parinello.
Hey, thanks, Beth, and thanks everybody for joining us today. And Beth, here again, thanks for bringing us all together. I know it takes a lot of work for you to do it and for people to show up, so here we go. So today we're going to speak about voicemail messages to VITO. Now, of course, when you hear me say the word VITO, I want you to think about the person in every organization that you're wanting to sell to and every organization you have in your existing book of business of the person who sits at the top of the totem pole, the top of the organization, the person with the ultimate veto power over everything, including the decision to buy your stuff or the decision to buy add-on stuff from you. So everything rolls up to this person I call VITO, and they typically have titles like, president, CEO, owner, and other privileged C-suite executives. So this is my shtick, and this is what we do here at VITO Selling: is we teach people how to communicate effectively to these top officers that freak out a lot of us when we even think about leaving a voicemail message for them or picking up the phone and saying anything to them or meeting in person with them. Hey, they're people just like us. And you'll find out that VITOs, very important top officers, about 85% of them were salespeople at one time, which means they did what we do. They know what it feels like, and they know the importance of sales. And they know that nothing happens in their organization until something is sold. So you have a lot in common with these people I call VITOs. So now let's talk about how to leave voicemail messages for them. So here's the first consideration I want you to think about, is that there are certain rules of engagement when it comes to leaving voicemail messages for VITOs. So I want you to consider that voicemail is a very powerful extension of your sales efforts, which means every voicemail message we leave, and there'll be a sequence of them, will move our sale further towards the finish line, period. And realize that voicemail messages live on after you leave them. Many times when you leave a voicemail message for VITO, they'll forward it to someone who they've entrusted to do whatever it is your voicemail message is suggesting you can do. So you might get a call back from someone other than VITO. So keep track of this stuff. And here's another thing that typically happens when someone calls you back from a message you leave from VITO. They'll think like you that's the only message you left today or something. And so you have to keep track of all this stuff, who you're leaving messages for. If you're using a CRM system, great, good for you. If you're using any other kind of system, just make sure you keep track of this, because it is a sequence of events that's going to take place. And it's a sequence of no less than 4 messages. So I'm going to show you 4 voicemail messages that I'm totally ready to script for you, but I'm going to show you some generic ones that we did for another person who joined our VITO University. And you'll leave 2 to 4 days in between each message, business days. Needs to ruminate and percolate, and VITO gets messages, so they're going to take some time listening to them. And if you don't get a call back on your first or second or third voicemail message, don't get your feelings hurt. Run the course, run the process, and be proactive. By that I mean, when you're running this process, you'll know, and you'll see in a minute, you're going to have to do stuff at a certain date, and time. And when you promise to do stuff to a VITO at a certain date, and time, you better do it. And with voicemail, the image that I like to put in my mind is I'm landing a glider. Now, I've never landed a glider, and I'm not intending on do so, but the image I put in my mind is that I'm landing a glider. Now, here's the thing about landing gliders. You only get one shot at it. You can't turn the power switch on and come around and do a touch and go. So you got to make it as perfect as it can be, at least a landing that you could walk away from, and a voicemail message that when it ends, you go, okay, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Now, I know there are voicemail systems out there that if you hit a pound sign or asterisk or whatever, you can scratch it, erase it and re-record, but don't count on that. Now, here's some other rules of engagement. Don't say you're going to do something and then don't do it. In other words, have congruency, have integrity, and do what you say you're going to do. and realize that every 5 seconds that you'll be leaving something on VITO's voicemail will earn you the listenership for another 5 seconds. So much like the telephone opening statement that I teach people to deliver to a VITO, either over the phone or in person, kind of your elevator pitch. Yeah, about every 5 seconds, and certainly no longer than 5 seconds, you're earning another 5 seconds. So keep that in mind when it comes to your voicemail messages. And you'll never stop before your last message. As I said earlier, there's 4 messages here. We're not going to give up after 3 or 2. We're not going to say, well, they're not going to call me back, so what? Who cares? I quit. You're going to run the course of 4 messages. And don't say any F words whatsoever. Now, F words in the land of VITO, when I say that, I mean facts, features, and functions that might be unfamiliar to VITO. Acronyms, buzzwords, technobabble, industry jargon, your product names and numbers. We know what that stuff is, but VITOs don't care about it. I mean, they might know what an acronym is, but it's not on their to-do list today. It's on someone else's to-do list today. So if you drop an F word in your voicemail messages, they're probably going to just hit erase or think, well, this isn't for me. I already have this or that or the other thing, and they'll stop listening and just erase it and move on. Speaking about moving on, a word about social proof for VITOs. Now, VITOs have a strong external frame of reference. That means that they care about what's going on around them in the industry and in their competitive scenarios. And so they have a strong external frame of reference, which means they'll respond well to social proof. Now, social proof is the fact that you're doing business with others in VITO's industry, or you have an experience base in your company of 40 years of experience. Now, social proof needs to be relevant to VITO's industry and scalable to the VITO you're mentioning it to on voicemail. And I'm going to suggest you never say the name of any of your other customers. Use a relative ranking name drop. For example, 5 of the top 100 banks in the tri-state area. Use a relative ranking of your customer base and your experience in the industry and bring it home locally if you can. Your voicemails will have a format to them. Just like the telephone opening statement and elevator pitch I teach people to say and I write for them, it has a format. It follows a certain pattern. There are about 4 pieces to every voicemail message you'll be leaving. First, it'll start with something I'll choose to call an opening bookend. And then, if you have social proof, you'll introduce it. And then it tells a storyline, something I call VITO speak, and you'll see what that is in a moment. And then it ends with a closing bookend. That's it. So there's a pattern to this. Now, of course, when you're leaving it, it all comes together and flows very naturally. But there are really 4 different pieces and parts to each voicemail message you'll be leaving. Here's an example of an opening bookend for your voicemail message number 1. Ms. Importanta, we'll prosper here. If you were in your office to take my call, we could have chatted about. Now, everything you see in brackets, you need to tailor, okay? And as we move through the slides here today, everything you see in brackets is up to you to tailor. Now, that's option number 1 for your opening bookend. Let's take a look at another option. Option 2, Mr. Benefito, we'll prosper with, and now you say your company name, sorry we missed each other. However, if your company name has an F word in it, like let's say you're the ABC Office Supply Company. Now, office supplies is an F word. VITOs don't buy office supplies. They buy what office supplies lets their people or enables their people to do. Or if you work for the ABC Telecommunications Company, man, it's not a VITO on planet Earth that doesn't already have telecommunications. So if your company has an F word in it, don't say it. Let's move on and see what the storyline is for your voicemail message number 1. Social proof comes first. If you have it, here you'll see 3 of the top law firms in Los Angeles rely upon us too. Now, here again, it has to relate to VITO. So if VITO's a law firm in Los Angeles, it's pretty good. because you're saying you're doing business with the top 3 law firms. You're not mentioning their names. You never want to mention the name of a competitor or someone else in VITO's industry because they may have just lost an opportunity to them, and it's not good to rub that in VITO's nose. So that's social proof. If you have it, you use it. Then you move on to your tailored VITO speak. Further increase billable hours by as much as 25% while cutting a top 5 annual expense by as much as 7%. Now, everything you see in red and underlined, I write this for you. And I mean, I'm an expert at it. I ask you a few questions and I write it for you. Now you have it. You'll notice now in each voicemail message, we're going to keep upping the ante, so to speak. So that's the first little bit of VITO speak that we leave. And then we close this first voicemail message with a closing bookend. Here's an option for one. This topic may be important to both of us. That's why you'll be hearing from me again at 2:30 Friday afternoon. Or you could reach me at 760-597-1234. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful rest of the day. Here again, everything in brackets you need to pick and tailor. You'll notice I'm leaving an exact date and time that I'm going to call back. Remember one of those rules of engagements? When you say you're going to do something, do it. Well, guess what? I better be calling at 2:30 on Friday afternoon, or I'm going to lose what little credibility I didn't even have. Let's look at another option for your closing bookend of your first voicemail message. We suspect that our repeatable process may be beneficial to your firm. That's why you'll be hearing from me again at 2:30 Friday afternoon, or you could reach me at, and you leave your number, and you close it with some nice closing salutation. There's 2 options for the closing bookend. Now what comes next is you wait 2 to 4 days, business days, to see if you get a call back. If you don't get a call back, don't get your feelings hurt. Just launch on another voicemail message. Here then is an opening bookend for voicemail message number 2. Ms. Importante, this is Will Prosper, calling as promised. Here again, I'm calling at the time I mentioned I would in the closing bookend of voicemail message number 1. Let's look at another option for an opening bookend to voicemail message number 2. Ms. Importante, Will Prosper, with a brief update about my first voicemail message you listened to on October 18th. So here I'm looking back over my shoulder and saying the date that I left my first voicemail message at. You got two options there. Now we go on to the next part of the voicemail, which is the storyline, the VITO speak. In addition to further increasing billable hours by up to 25% while cutting a top 5 annual expense by as much as 7%, we're also able to solve 5 industry-wide problems in just 120 days. Here again, everything in red, I'll write for you, but notice I've upped the ante a little bit here. I put in that we could also solve 5 industry-wide problems. Now let's look at a closing bookend for voicemail message number 2. Our team of experts strongly suspect that what we've done for 3 other law firms, here I reference back to the social proof if I have it, may also work for you. That's why you'll be hearing from me next Tuesday, October 23rd at 9:30, or if you'd like, you can call me and then my name and my number. So here again, the proactivity is I'm giving a date and a time of my next voicemail message. Guess what comes next? Now you're catching on. You wait 2 to 4 days. Business days. If you don't get a call back, don't get your feelings hurt, because these voicemail messages, I'll guarantee you this, when you leave a voicemail message for VITO, somebody's listening to them and maybe forwarding them to someone else. So 2 to 4 days, if you don't hear anything, we're going to run the course. We're going to go to our 3rd voicemail message opening bookend. Ms. Importante, Will Prosper, calling it my suggested time. Here again, I'm tagging back into the last voicemail message I left, and now I'm moving right into my storyline of voicemail message number 3. Since we've not been able to connect, I've taken the liberty to send an email with 3 questions, With your answer, we'll be able to quickly determine the exact increase in your billable hours and savings we can deliver to your firm in the next 120 days. See the underline and the red highlighting of 3 questions? I write those questions for you based upon a little questionnaire that you will fill out for me. I'll do all this for you. It makes it nice and easy. Here again, you'll see that I'm tagging into the value of increasing billable hours, and I'm saying that I'm going to send an email combined with this voicemail. Next, closing bookend of voicemail message number 3. We'll look forward to getting your answers and talking with you on Thursday, October 25th at 3 p.m. about our initial assessment about the value we'll be able to deliver to your firm. Or if you like, you can reach me, and then I leave my telephone number again. Now, I want to highlight something here. See that Thursday, October 25th at 3 p.m., my next proactive call to VITO? Well, guess what the subject line is for that email that I'm sending with those 3 questions? You're right. The subject line simply says, our conversation Thursday, October 25th at 3 p.m. Yeah, that's how you get your emails opened up. Now let's look what comes next. We wait 2 to 4 days to get a return answer on the email or return from the voicemail. If you don't get an answer, don't get your feelings hurt, because what's coming up next is voicemail message number 4, and the opening bookend to voicemail message number 4 sounds like this. Ms. Importante, this is Will Prosper calling with an alternate plan. Now, the storyline. Since we've not received your answers and haven't been able to have a conversation, it may be best to postpone our next step by 60 days. Perhaps the timing will be more favorable for both of us. Yeah, we're kind of saying adios to VITO. We're kind of telling VITO that, you know what, we got other fish to fry and so do you, so let's wait 60 days. But now watch what happens in the closing bookend of storyline number 4. I'm sorry, of voicemail message number 4. In the meantime, if you are the person you trust the most to discuss our process of further increasing billable hours by as much as 25%, while cutting a top 5 annual expense by as much as 7%, and provide resolution to 5 industry-wide problems with a predictable return on investment of 200% in the first year. Notice I hear again added value about the return on investment. This is what makes VITOs tick. This is what makes VITOs want to call you back. And then you close by saying you could reach me and your name and your phone number, and that's it. You know what we're doing here? We are piquing VITO's interest on the value of what we suspect we can do for their law firm, their manufacturing company, their retail operation, their logistics, their life sciences, their medical, whatever industry you're calling in. And I write this stuff for you. Speaking of this, I love this. I write it, you say it, we win. Gotta love it. It's your choice. Take what you've learned here today and run with it, or if you want my help to write it for you, register for VITO University. It's so simple. Just check it out and make your decision. Go to 3dubs.vitoSalesTraining.com or just email me, Tony, at Selling to VITO. And I'll personally work with you to create the scripts of all your voicemail messages and a bunch of other stuff if you want, or just hang out with me during these free web events, which we have, on occasion. And we'll let you know when the next one's coming up. So on the heels of that, thank you for your time. This has all been recorded. You're going to get the slides. You're going to get the audio. And now I'll let Beth Allen close it out for us, because it really is Beth's, to her credit, that she put all this together for us to spend some time together. So Beth, back to you. Whoops, we lost Beth. Okay, well then I'll close it out. Here again, if you need to answer a question or something, look at the screen. That's how you get a hold of me. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your effort. And I'll talk to you real soon in VITO University, or I'll see you during our next free webinar. Bye-bye.